You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you? And you were doing your best, weren't you? You figured out what was causing the devastating cold, and you were on your way to stop it, weren't you? You were going to rescue Lulu's eggs, your children-to-be, weren't you? You looked at the night sky, you saw doom, destruction, despair, and you thought to yourself, I must do something about this. I must summon a power strong enough to overcome this. Didn't you? But oh, you had to die. You left pages unturned. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is a children's game about death and regret. A bold choice, if anything. And this game's symbolism relies heavily in one particular visual metaphor, one that is so important that's even in the title, the mask. Majora's many masks are a powerful symbol, and they're so full of flavor and personality that they allow this game to be remembered. And let's not forget that this is a sequel to one of the most successful games of all time. But why? What's the deal with the masks? And above all, can we draw inspiration from Majora and create our own memorable masks? World building is not a skill that you can improve by just reading, watching, playing. You must try your hand, you must create. And this is the whole point of this series here, the Worldbuilding Tower. Together we explore one fascinating aspect of a wonderful piece of creative media, and from there I extract an exercise for myself and for you as well, for us to try it out and give our unique solutions and grow step by step. Trial by trial, creation by creation, we become better world builders together. We're approaching 1,000 subscribers, and Jarian from the future here. And folks, since I started editing this episode there, things have changed quite dramatically, because I made a small collaboration video about the D&D and bards with my good friend Joe Barrap, who has an amazing channel about fighting choreography and concealing knives and dresses. It's so cool. And she also gave my channel a shout out, and in the past 8 hours I made more subscribers than I had made in 1 year and 2 months. That was a wild ride. God, yesterday was exhilarating, and I'm still kind of shaking. Anyway, if you're new here, this is a channel about world building and writing, and I really do hope you give it a chance and you build some awe-inspiring worlds with us. That's it. Let's get to creating, folks. Let's get to creating. I really love the mystique of masks, and I can't deny that maybe I do because I was so dazzled by Majora's Mask when I was a kid. Zelda is by no means the only piece of media or even the only game that portrays masks. There are plenty of examples out there, including my beloved Persona 5. But there's something special about the way they did it. Something about that pain they show every time you wear them. Something about that connection to death and suffering and hope. Something that remained with me. When I was young, I played hundreds of games, and many good ones. Why is this the piece of symbolism that stayed with me and still lives inside of me 20 years later? I don't know. Let's have a look at them. You start this journey being cursed by a creepy masked kid and going on a bad acid trip just to wake up as a plant boy. Well, that's alright. This absolutely happy mask salesman tells you that you're screwed, but you'll be fine. See? We're still in the introduction, but masks are already everywhere. Eventually you get rid of the curse and you start to collect masks with many effects. Some grant you the sweet moves of an old dance master you saw kinda dying. Some give you the authority to check mailboxes. Some make you irresistible to chicks. But a few of those masks are special. They don't give you just one nudge or another. They quite literally change who you are. And those are the ones that really stick with people. Let's focus our analysis there. Let's talk about the Zora mask. You find this Zora, a kind of fish person, at the brink of death. He tells you he's the guitarist in a band, and in the most rock and roll act in all gaming, he'll play you one last tune before he kicks the bucket. So he gives you the absolute bare minimum of his backstory. He was trying to rescue some eggs for this girl, and he was beaten up by pirates. And hey, can we take just a moment to appreciate the actual sound of this scene?
Baby! Oh!
Lovely, huh? Fish music, 10 out of 10. But Link, our main character, has this one power, a song that heals. This man's beyond healing, he's a dead fish, but the song gives him one last chance. He leaves a mask behind, one that allows you to impersonate him completely. And now Link has this very interesting challenge to wear the mask, talk to the fish people, and figure out who the hell this fish man was. Just this premise opens up a lot of interesting dialogue. Different people treat you differently. Some love you, some hate you, some scorn you, and some are your fans. Above all, I love the use of the mask here, a tool for full-body impersonation. Multiple traditions use masks for different purposes. Maybe it's to summon the spirits, or to be less recognizable in a ballroom, or a civil protest. Maybe you're representing a character in a theater play, or a pagan ceremony. But the type of mask that was chosen here was, of course, the death mask. A notorious person dies. A couple of minutes later, a mortuary specialist comes with cloths and wax and covers the body's face for a couple of minutes. For generations to come, the likeness of that person will be known because of this mold that was created just after death. The death mask. With the advent of photography, we don't see death masks that much anymore. But for centuries, it was the absolute best way to know how somebody used to look like. The death mask is already a pretty powerful symbol. It carries this macabre ritual, right? And also this idea of permanence and legacy. And Majora banked on that with a fantasy lens. What if the death mask carried more than just one's likeness? What if, instead of just using this wax mode to reproduce somebody's face on a statue or something, what if you were the death mask? What sorts of powers and fears and thoughts would that give you? A wonderful world-building question. For the sake of challenge, I tried to give you and myself some broad and also some narrow exercises, and today we're gonna focus on the latter. Something real specific. So I'm gonna scoop this particular inspiration, the death mask, and I'm gonna ask you to use it and create something completely different from what Zelda did. Let's assume that death masks are a thing in your world building. What happens when people put them on? And why would they do it? What's the spiel? What's the magic? How does it feel? And how does it push the story, the characters, and the world forward? Yes, we're talking about world building here, but not in the theoretical sense. We're trying to write stories, not just world building Bibles. So world building can be a tool to evolve a story. In that sense, how does this element can push a plot forward and teach the reader interesting things about this scenario and those characters. And last but not least, how does it look like? And oh, there's a lot of potential here, huh? And with that, we go to the last part of this video, which is me trying to hone my own world building skills, trying to do this exercise and expand my creative muscles. Of course, my creation is not better or worse than anybody else's. It's just one stepping stone in my own journey. And I invite you to also share your world building in the comment section below. There's a lot of really creative people sharing such amazing ideas in the comment section. I also recommend you to read other people's world creations. It's always a blast. Okay folks, let's talk about death. I have a real life inspiration for this exercise, and this one starts with the living, not with the dead. My grandmother is quite a renowned pianist, at least in the limited world of Brazilian classical musicians. And her house is full of musical paraphernalia. There's scores of sheet music and little musical boxes and paintings of pianos. But one item in particular caught my attention since I was very young. My grandma has a perfect replica of Chopin's left hand. And that's a thing they do with pianists. They do make their death masks, and yes, my grandma also has the man's face, but they also do their hands, which makes sense, right? I remember holding that object as a youngling and hoping some of this legendary music talent would flow from the hand to me and take over a part of me. So one day I would just sit by the piano and start blasting some Chopin without even knowing what the hell I was doing. So here's the basis of my world building. There's a strange sorcery that happens when a great artist dies before they can finish a masterpiece. Picture Antoni Gaudí being hit by a tram right in front of his unfinished cathedral, the Sagrada Familia. Now imagine the first person who sees his body also finds a mask next to it, a mask that both resembles his face and the stained glass of the church. With trembling hands, they put on the mask, and now the Sagrada Familia is theirs to finish. Now, from one second to the other, they are as talented, as skillful as Antoni Gaudí. The will of the masterpiece was too strong. It just wouldn't die. Dying is for humans. Yes, whispers the death mask. I will give you skill. I will shower you with power and prestige. But you will finish me. Oh, you will dedicate your life to me. That is the bargain. From a writer's perspective, this allows me to tell a longer story about a piece of art, but also shorter stories about the different people who inherit the masks and try their best to finish this work. How would this sudden power change you? How would it shake your world? And how would your personality affect the art making at hand? On the other hand, what about the masterpiece? How does it change over time? Maybe the original artist just started the work. Maybe the first mask bearer found a way to improve upon this already amazing piece of art. And maybe the second mask bearer finally found a way to push this work to its very limit. And all the while, the mask kept changing its appearance. Ah yes, the beauty of death and decay. Before I leave you today, let me remind you that if you're looking for a writing Discord server, I would highly recommend the Featherpen Guild. I'm not an admin there, I'm just another person around. They're not paying me anything for this. I just really like this Discord server, and recently they announced that they're gonna make their first inter-server writing competition, which is just lovely. It's lovely. If you're looking for a server, I can highly recommend that one. And with that, I leave you for today. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope those exercises are helping you grow, even if just a little. That would make my day, my month, my year. And a special thank you to my patrons. Oh my god, I don't even have 1,000 subscribers and you're already supporting me in such a generous way. Thank you so much. I am humbled by your support. That's it, folks. I'll see you next time. Ciao.